Entitled Mom tried to reserve the baby name I've had picked since I was 12 by use a brilliant dismiss 415. At 28 I'm 8 months pregnant with my first child. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved the name Eliana. It is unique, feminine, and just always felt special to me. My friends and family have known this forever, even jokingly calling dibs on middle names when I was still in high school. Fast forward, my cousin 29F is also pregnant by surprise and recently announced she is having a girl too. At the baby shower last week, I mentioned that we've officially chosen Eliana as the name. She froze. In front of everyone, she goes, no, that is the name I am using. I already told my mom and everyone at work you can use it. I said I've had this name picked out since before you even graduated high school. You literally made fun of it in the past. She says, doesn't matter. I am the first to say it now while we were both pregnant. It is mine. My aunt, her mom, then backed her up, saying, just let her have this. You can always pick another name. No. I am not picking another name for the baby I've waited years for just because my cousin impulsively called dibs. Entitlement level, naming rights thief. I told her she can use it too if she wants, but I am not changing. If we both end up with daughters named Eliana, that is her hill to die on. The bride wore red, by user Real Sailor Jim. My wife and I received a wedding invitation from an old shipmate earlier this year. I'd served with him in the Coast Guard and had stayed in touch over the decades, so let's just call him Chief and his fiancée Chiefette. I called Chief the next day and formally accepted for the two of us and sent the RSVP back, just to be uber formal. Then my wife and I marked our calendar, set aside funds for travel, and went back to normal living. 2 weeks later, Chief called with an odd request. He wanted my wife to wear her wedding gown to his wedding. Long story short, they'd found out that the Chiefette's mother intended to wear her wedding gown to her daughter's wedding, and instead of making a fight out of it, they were asking all the guests, well, the female guests. I have no idea what would have happened if I turned up on a wedding dress to at least wear white, if not an actual wedding dress. My wife was delighted. She could still fit into her dress and, as she put it, when will I get another chance to wear the silly thing? So the date came. We showed up, me in a nice suit and my love in her dress, and walked into a room chock full of women in white. The plan was that we'd all walk into the chapel when the preacher was ready, but Chiefette wanted us all in this room when her mother showed up. I joined the chief outside the main doors and watched as his future mother-in-law exited her car in an explosion of white tulle. She was wearing something that would have suited a Disney princess, but marched up to us like a marine storming a beachfront, clearly expecting resistance if not rejection. Chief simply welcomed her warmly and held the door for her and his future father-in-law, who had the grace to look ashamed. She strutted into the room, nose in the air. Then froze, staring at 20 or so women all wearing white and most wearing gowns as fancy as hers. I don't know what Chief expected, but he seemed surprised at her meltdown. The women started screaming at everyone, calling them out on how shameful they were to wear white to her daughter's wedding and how they all had to leave. Her husband quietly pointed out that she herself was wearing a wedding gown to her daughter's wedding. That's different, damn my chi, I'm her mother. When she discovered that the bride had specifically requested the women to wear white, she deflated like a punctured beach ball. Moments later, the music started, the doors opened, and we all entered the chapel. We had barely sat when the wedding march started, and Chiefette, wearing a stunning red and gold gown, walked on the arm of her father. Her mother left almost immediately after the ceremony. Later, at the reception, I found out that Chiefette had based her revenge on posts she'd read on Reddit, so congratulations people, you did good. Update, I called Chief and Chiefette answered. I let her know that I posted and she pulled up the post while we were on the phone. Good news is that she was delighted by the comments, but she is putting the kibosh on sharing any pictures. Apparently, she is trying to reconcile with her mom and various members of her family who believe she went too far and doesn't want to kick the hornet nest any harder than absolutely necessary. Entitled mother allows her 6-year-old child run around a hospital unattended even after being warned by nurses until her child kills a newborn by user demisture. Happened in France. I think this belongs here. Please forgive me if it doesn't. This is my first time posting in this subreddit. The boy was allegedly left to a room around the ward and treated the baby girl like a doll before tragically dropping her on the floor. The 6-year-old is the son of another mother who was in the maternity ward at the same time. The boy would arrive at 7 am and spend all day running up and down the hallways. They said all the mothers in the ward were complaining, and that a nurse had even warned the boy's mother that his behavior was a problem. He was entering other rooms, the grandmother said. I don't blame the 6-year-old, he has a child, and he doesn't understand how to handle premature infants. It was his mother's responsibility to watch him or have him removed if she couldn't. She ignored the warnings, preferring instead to believe that the rules didn't apply to her, and that she was entitled to allow her child to cause one disruption after another until a baby was killed. https://thanid.com/world/France 6-year-old boy allegedly kills premature baby in Jean de Flanders Hospital's maternity ward C-19,386,523. Update entitled Mom Wants to Eat a Wedding Cake Top by User Luxuriant Squid. Link to original posts. I have kind of a boring update. My mom texted right before I was going to head to her house for the cake heist that I could do whatever I wanted in terms of celebrating with the cake. I told her that we wanted to celebrate our anniversary as a couple first with the cake. A family member had caught wind of what my mom was planning and told her we might want to celebrate this anniversary as a couple for sentimental purposes, so the groundwork was already laid for me. It turned out to not be much of a heist, unfortunately, and it was civil if not a bit tense. As I was leaving her house, she made a comment under her breath that the cake could feed 20 people. I just ignored her and headed to the car. We had the cake on our anniversary and it was actually really good. It was maybe a little bit more dry, but not significantly. My mom still wanted to celebrate us after our actual anniversary celebration took place, and we agreed because we got to celebrate in our own way first, and we only managed to eat half the cake and we didn't want it to go to waste. The family celebration went pretty well. She insisted on getting another cake even though we were bringing half of our 20-person cake, and went to a bakery that specializes in the same kind of cake that was kind of far from her. I told her she didn't have to go so far, but she insisted, and apparently it took an entire day and there was a list of complaints, but I ignored those and hung out with the rest of my family and had a good time. She told me that her friend said she scolded major mother-in-law points going out of her way to get a cake for our anniversary, but I am not sure it felt like that after the initial cake heist drama. From my previous post's comments, I'll definitely keep my eyes open to this behavior in the future and not let her interfere with my wife when we have kids, as there were a lot of comments also warning about that. This situation has really driven it home that I need to set boundaries with unreasonable people, and that can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary, and the peace in doing so is worth it. Thank you all for your insight, and hopefully this was a good update even if it lacked a true heist. You bought the last Happy Meal toy and my daughter didn't get one. Give it to me. By user Sergeant Major Mario. This happened last year when the Hello Kitty x Yu-Gi-Oh crossover toys had hit the McDonald's in the UK. I'm someone who loves Yu-Gi-Oh in both the card game and the anime. So when I heard about the collab, it was the first time since I was a kid that I wanted to get a Happy Meal toy. So when I went to a McDonald's to get some food, I decided to see if I could get a toy when I finished eating. It was at that point that I was told you could buy a toy separately. Yes, I was going to buy a Happy Meal had I not known this, so I bought the Dark Magician Girl and then headed to the bus stop after putting it in my rucksack. Something I didn't know is that I unintentionally bought the last one. While I was waiting for the bus, a woman quickly made her way up to me, the EP of the story. Now, had she been polite and explained the situation to me and asked for my toy, then I most likely would have given her the toy without hassle, since it only cost me a couple of quid, but that's not what happened. Excuse me, that was the last toy you bought. Me, oh, sorry about that, I had no idea. Because of you, my daughter doesn't have a toy with her Happy Meal. Give it to me. Me, excuse me. Give it. Me, no, I won't. I paid for it. You shouldn't have a toy like that anyway. It's made for little girls, and you're a grown man buying a girl's toy. At this point, some others who were waiting for the bus had turned to listen to the whole argument. So I tried to de-escalate the situation. Me, look, I'm sorry, your daughter doesn't have a toy. In my defense, I didn't know it was the last one. Well, you should have. My husband is trying to stop her from crying because of you. Why did you buy it anyway? Me, because I'm a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh. What the hell is that? Me, that's the crossover they're doing. The Hello Kitty characters are dressed like monsters from the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Oh, who cares? You robbed my daughter of her toy. If you don't give it to me right now, I will call the police on you. Me, call the police then, I don't care. At that moment, I was quickly getting fed up with the EP. I'm well aware I should have just given her the toy just to shut her up and then bought another one later, but at that moment I was standing my ground and I wasn't going to give in and let her win because of her demanding attitude. Yes, it was all over a cheap plush toy, very petty of me, I'm aware. The EP then pulled out her phone and started calling the police. I think she dialed 999, which over here is the number for emergencies. Mercifully, the bus arrived and I quickly got on, making sure to go up to the top so I didn't have to look at her, and the bus drove off. Never heard anything about the ordeal and I never got contacted by the police. Admittedly, a part of me wanted to stay behind to hear what she said to the police, but after all of that, I just wanted to go home.